Now that Ulysses is here, we can start. You're on 22B.
All right, so I'm Rob, and we're going to be talking about compensation and benefits. So workers' compensation is a form of insurance providing wage replacement and medical benefits to employees who are injured on the job or contracting an illness from results, contracting an illness as a result of their job that could pay for the workers' medical expenses and rehabilitation costs. Before workers' compensation statutes were adopted by the states, injured workers trying to recover medical expenses, lost wages, and other damages had to prove this negligence of the employer in a long, costly, and uncertain process that negatively impacted their lives. Workers' compensation programs were being adopted in the early 1900s in the U.S., and beginning in the 1910s, the first instance of social insurance in the U.S. has been called a significant event in the nation's economic, legal, and political history. By 1921, only 6 states had yet to enact workers' compensation legislation. Typically, the major benefits employers offer are medical insurance, life insurance, disability insurance, and retirement plans. Some common forms of compensation are base pay, commissions, overtime pay, bonuses, and travel, meal, or housing allowances. Some different types of benefits may include health insurance, dental insurance, vision insurance, disability income protection, retirement benefits, tuition reimbursement, sick leave, vacation, paid or non-paid vacation, and funding of education. Salespeople are usually paid on straight salary compensation, in which there is no opportunity to earn incentives. Uh, Straight salary planning can help promote a sense of equality among salespeople who work as teams or small groups, since everyone is paid equally and expected to, each team member is to do the same amount of work. Salary plus commission is one of the most reliable types of compensation plans. An employee who agrees to this type of compensation will receive a base salary along with an additional bonus if their performance hits or exceeds earning goals. Employees are still guaranteed to receive at least base salary even during time when sales are low. In the past, most people had employer health insurance. This means the employer chose the insurance company and picked a plan option for the employees. But now, challenging economic times have forced many employers to cut costs, and rising healthcare costs have made it difficult for companies to pay for health insurance. New and more expensive technologies, treatments, and drugs have emerged, adding costs. Due to these factors and others, a growing trend is for individuals to partially pay or fully pay for their own health insurance. Disability benefits disability benefits are employee benefits that guarantee income if an employee cannot work due to an illness or an accident. Long-term and short-term disability policies are the two general categories of optimal disability benefits. Short-term disability insurance is designed to provide income to employees who become disabled due to sickness or an accident and are unable to work after an initial waiting period. Short-term benefits are usually expressed in terms of maximum number of weeks that the plan will pay. Usually there's 13 weeks, 26 weeks. This is my niece Charlotte. So while my sister was pregnant, she had a short-term disability which she received 4 weeks before her due date and then 6 weeks after she was born. While she was on the short-term disability, she received 60% of her pay. Long-term disability policies take up where short-term policies leave off, covering employees who became disabled and unable to work for longer periods of time. employee does not have to be permanently disabled to receive the benefits, but most plans require that the employee has to have been a regular full-time employee for at least 1 year. The Employee Retirement Income Security Act, or the ERISA, covers two types of retirement plans: defined benefit plans and defined contribution plans. Defined benefit plan promises a specified monthly benefit at retirement. The plan may state this promised benefit as an exact dollar amount, like $100 per month. More commonly, it may calculate a benefit through a plan formula that considers such factors as salary and service. For example, 1% of average salary for the last 5 years of employment for every year of service with an employer. A defined contribution plan, on the other hand, does not promise a specific amount of benefits at retirement. In these plans, the employee, the employer, or both the employee and employer contribute to the employee's individual account under the plan, sometimes at a set rate like 5% of earnings annually. Some examples of defined contribution plans include like a 401k or a 403b. There are many benefits of having well-established compensation plan benefits. The Society for Human Resource Management reports that nearly half of all workers surveyed rated their employer matching requirement plans as very important. Benefits like wellness employee benefits can help boost morale in the workplace. By partnering with a local gym to offer free or discounted memberships to workers, in addition to other more obvious job perks, is how you can boost morale. Your employees are your biggest company asset, so it is vital to keep them happy with you, with the employer. Employee benefits are about much more than time off and health insurance. Well-rounded employee benefits can mean the difference between loyal employees and employees who are just there to put in the hours. So next, we have Jovan.
I'll speak on this slide. All right, so thank you, Rob, for that introduction into compensation. My name is Jovan Lane. I'm going to talk about developing a compensation plan. I'm going to go over factors that go into a plan and business models. So the first thing before I begin is to note that it's not uncommon for the employer to use 20% of or more of the company budget on personnel salary. This is because you want to attract better applicants to your job position, well, to your your company. And you're going to find it difficult if your compensation plan isn't up to par. The first step is to make sure that your compensation plan matches with the company goals. Oftentimes, a business will change, but they'll fail to update this. This usually means they're switching over from a cost leadership program to one more focused on development and quality. Example of a business that matches their compensation plan with their company goals would be Walmart. Walmart leads in cost, meaning that their products are inexpensive to make and they sell them for a reasonable price. However, they get ahead by having low costs, so their compensation plans aren't really as great as their competitors. Another example would be Costco. Costco does focus more on quality and development. They have the employee's interest in mind when they develop their compensation plan. They pay above market wage and they offer great benefits. This is to entice people to work for their company. And so the next step is to have a survey sent out to your employees, and they will rank the benefits from least important to most. However, when you do this, you want to make sure that your compensation package matches these results. If everyone's asking for better health premiums, you don't want to give them something like flex time. And so the things that can be included into a compensation plan include pay, first of all, how well will you pay your employees? Things such as health insurance, will you include dental, and how much coverage will you offer? Things like flex time and cash bonuses, either during holidays or merit. You don't necessarily need to pay above market wage to attract quality applicants to your business. You can compensate with pay with benefits. An example would be my friend who gets paid below market wage, but he gets incredible health care. He recently needed to use this because he had surgery, and he had to pay a minimal amount out of pocket. And so there are some internal factors that go into a compensation plan, one of which would be how the ability of your employer to pay and your position in the company. Are you vital to the business and can the business survive without you? Unions also play a role in compensation if your business has one. Unions tend to close the gap between the highest and lowest paid workers, essentially creating a cure for pay inequality. And unions tend to favor fringe benefits, such as like a company car or healthcare. And then there's also external factors that impact pay. This can include the economic state of an area or the cost of living. Labor markets also are an influence because they determine if a position is high in demand at the time, thus increasing their compensation. And there are also federal laws that restrict an employer from paying a certain amount, well, below a certain amount. This includes the federal minimum wage set at 725, and the statutory ones, New Jersey being at 860, and places like California being at $11. But that's because their state well, they have a higher cost of living. And these are something that an employer needs to take into consideration when creating a compensation package. Your goal is to have something be competitive to attract better applicants to your company. But you still need to take into account cost of living and if the salaries are higher or low in the area. So if the salaries are low in your area, what benefits can you offer to compensate for this? This is an opportunity for employers to notice trends in an area, such as New Jersey or Colorado having one of the lowest obesity rates. You could offer a gym free of use for your employees, and this can help compensate pay. And then once you hire, how will you handle their starting salary? Will you have a pay scale set or will you negotiate their salaries? If you don't have a scale set, how can you ensure that each offer is non-discriminatory? That's why I personally believe a pay scale is better for the employer because it helps with handling discrimination. And how will you handle raises? Will they be merit-based or tenure or a combination of both? Tenure is easier for the employer. It's an easy to use system and it's non-discriminatory. However, it doesn't really motivate your staff to go above and beyond. Compared to merit-based, which is more of a friendly competition in the workplace, thus increasing productivity. However, this is subject to discrimination. So if you do use solely merit on your raises, you need to make sure you have proper documentation, such as performance reviews. And I understand you probably can't read this, but these are all the federal and statutory labor laws for New Jersey. They include things such as the SAFE Act, FLSA, FMLA, equal pay, sick leave. And I didn't go over these much because they're not competitive when creating a compensation plan. It's something that every employer needs to provide for their employees. This isn't going to attract applicants to your business because it's something everyone is entitled to. However, I will pass this on to Stephen, who will go a little bit further into pay scales and pay acts that influence your compensation package. So thank you for your time, and I'm going to let Stephen take it from here.
All right, so we're going to be looking at the different types of pay acts, different acts that have been passed as early as 1833 up until this year that have changed the way we look at pay, different labor conditions. And so this picture here is a picture of a little boy working in a factory in the 1800s. This was when the Factory Act of 1833 was passed, and it basically imposed a minimum working age for children working in factories since back then there was a lot of younger individuals working in factories. This is explaining the Federal Employees Compensation Act, which was established to cover employees in case they were injured on the job If they needed to leave work due to an injury that was incurred on the job, they would be compensated for it. That way they weren't losing money or not making any money while they were off work. The Fair Labor Standards Act was passed in order to it was enacted in order to impose a minimum wage, and it also imposed overtime. So individuals that would work a certain number of hours per week would make overtime to compensate for their pay for working more hours than what they were required. The Federal Unemployment Tax Act basically was enacted in order to provide taxes that would tax your paycheck, and it would fund government agencies, state agencies, basically stuff that was run by the government or the state was taxed onto your paycheck. That way it could be funded through there. This is a picture of John F. Kennedy signing the Equal Pay Act into law. The Equal Pay Act covered individuals. That way there was no pay discrimination within the company or the individual based on race, sex, religion. It basically covered the gender pay gap that we kind of still see today, but it tried to lower it as much as possible, which is where we see the Lilly Ledbetter Act of 2009, where Lilly Ledbetter went against Goodyear Tire Company. She received 3 anonymous tips and realized that she was being paid much less than 3 male managers that were on the same level as her, and so she was awarded $3 million in damages because of what Goodyear had discriminated against her. And then this is the newest one in New Jersey. It's the NJ Paid Sick Leave Act, which basically states that an individual is allowed to accrue up to 40 hours of paid sick leave throughout the year. They accrue 1 hour of sick leave, 1 hour of paid sick leave for every 30 hours worked, so that they can take time off to recover and then come back to work. Now we're going to talk about different types of pay. We can look at skill-based pay, which basically pays individuals different amounts based on their different skills. So it kind of varies between organizations, but if you have a certain set of skills within an organization, they might want to pay you differently, more or less, than another individual. We can look at competency-based pay, which pays you differently based on your different competencies, maybe your different knowledge or skills or abilities in the jobs that you're performing. So it's going to vary between individuals based on these different traits and characteristics as far as which organization it is. Then we can look at competency, skill. We can look at knowledge-based pay. Knowledge-based pay would vary based on your own knowledge that you're bringing to the organization. So the knowledge that you have on doing a certain job, you might be paid more or less based on that of other individuals that are working in the organization. We have variable pay systems, which would have the different types of pay vary based on your position within the organization. So you're going to be paid something differently than that of someone else, maybe based on performance or based on your skills. It all kind of varies, similar to broad banding, which just establishes different pays for different departments. This is an example of a paycheck under a salary pay. So individuals under salary, you generally don't make overtime. They're paid a certain fixed amount over a certain fixed time period, maybe a year, 10 months, 8 months. It all really depends. It's different than that of an hourly. So an hourly, you would log your hours hourly. Up to 40 hours, you make a regular pay, like a regular pay rate. And then over 40 hours, you make usually time and a half, which would be considered overtime. It differs from salary in that you can make overtime, but under salary, you can't. And then it's also different from that of a piecework system, in which a piecework system, you're paid based on how many units you produce. So if you're, producing car pieces, let's say car parts or car doors, you'd be paid on how many doors were produced during that period for which you worked for the organization and how many pieces were produced. The next one would be commission plans. So commissions are most generally, you'd think of commissions, you would think of a car salesman. Basically, someone like a car salesman will be paid, they could be paid salary or they may not be paid salary. So they're basically paid more based on how much of this product that they sell. So you're given a bonus or you're specified to hit a certain quota based on how much you sell. Bonus plans are also usually monetary benefits that come to employees that are given by the company based on their performance within the organization. An organization could say, hey, you're doing an outstanding job, we're going to give you a bonus that will usually be added onto the paycheck. And it's just another way of recognizing the employee's achievement. Profit sharing plan is usually established by the company. So profit sharing, it's established by the company. Let's say they hit their max goal, and then the rest of the profit from there, they can choose to divvy up amongst employees within the organization, whoever they choose, the fixed amount that they choose can pretty much vary based on individuals. Companies could also offer stock options, which provide the individual with stocks, the option to purchase stocks at a lower going rate than their current going rate, to try and make a little bit more money since they're working for the organization. So that's just another way that a company can entice individuals to purchase or go into a different type of benefit. The U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission is just a commission that attempts to regulate stuff like the gender pay gap, discrimination against sex, race, or religion. They basically regulate everything. If you have a job, then they would regulate it and attempt to close what we see as the gender pay gap. We can still see today that the gender pay gap, it seems that women are paid 80 cents to the dollar on what men are paid. So it's still in effect today, not as much as it was in previous years, but we can still see that this is still in effect today.
Is that what you do at Chick-fil-A?
No. So I'm going to pass it off to Kai, who's going to talk about some compensation benefits.
I'm just gonna go into detail with what a lot of them already talked about, basically. So I'm gonna start with, the Medicare, which is under the Social Security Act of 1935, where employees are required to withdraw money from their workers' paycheck to pay for their retirement benefits. Once this money is put aside, anyone born after 1960 will receive their benefits at the age of 67. Social Security is for people over the age of 65. It is a government system that provides financial help to people with little to no income. This benefit is equally paid by the employee and the employer. It is used for like permanent disability benefits, retirement benefits, and Medicare. Unemployment is also under the Social Security Act, and it's called a Federal Unemployment Tax Act. Program is goal is to provide lost income for employees during the involuntary unemployment, and it helps them develop different new skills and find new jobs. The majority of this plan is funded by the employee's payroll tax, which is about 8% per employee. Okay, so workers' compensation is for employees who's hurt on the job. The jobs are classified as the risk levels, and the higher the risk level, the higher the cost of insurance. This is not a federally mandated program, but it's required in the state of New Jersey. And in New Jersey, you get 70% of your income or $903 a week, whichever is lower. Employers are required to purchase workers' compensation insurance from a licensed provider or to self-insure, and where they can hire a third-party administrator to run the program. And insurance premium depends on your experience and your industry. Commission, this is some voluntary benefits that is usually set. It consists of money that when you sell certain like a certain amount of stuff that you appreciate. Bonuses are another incentive pay in which the employee meets a certain goal or completes a project, and they're usually a one-time payment. All right, merit pay is a program that links pay to the employee's job performance. Most of the problem with merit pay is that they're usually given out once a year, which limits the flexibility of receiving them like more than once. Okay, medical insurance is mandatory for you to have, but it is not mandatory for your employee to give it to you. And as an HR professional, you will be responsible to choose whether or not you want to have health to insure your employees. And if you do, you have to choose the correct plan. Different plans they have are fee for service, where you pay out of pocket and you get reimbursed. HMOs, which have a greater coverage, but you're not able to choose your physician. PMOs are similar to HMOs, but you get to choose your physician. When choosing a plan, you must consider the plan cost, the type of coverage, care quality, and administrative plan. 401k is a pension plan that has a set of a dollar amount an employee will receive when they retire. This is popular when most people work their entire life at one job. Um, but a lot of plans that got bankrupt. Since then, the U.S. has an agency called PBGS that protects people from losing their benefits. And if a pension plan ends or isn't able to get paid, the PBS insurance help pay for the rest of their compensation. Um, paid time off, I don't know what that is. Most employers provide a set number of days that could be used for either vacation time, holidays, or sick leave. Other employers offer paid sabbaticals, like after 5 years of employment, you get to take a month of paid vacation. Paid vacations are given to full-time employees as part of compensation package. The average number of paid vacations in the U.S. is 9 days for 1 year, 14 for 5 years, and 17 for 10 years, within some, within the same company. And now I'm gonna give it to Mary.
Alright, so now I'm gonna talk about medical benefits. They're unlimited but no deductible. Payments are made to the point that employee is cured or given maximum relief. If these benefits meet coverage requirement, it cannot be denied by the employer. Um, these benefits are paid to injured and sick employees only, and it can be paid for life. Employees receive benefits no matter who fault it was, so if you hurt yourself, you still will be able to get the benefits. All right, these benefits can cover your travel expenses. So let's say you're too injured, too sick to go to the hospital, so the ambulance come get you, or you take a helicopter, or whatever the case may be. So they'll cover your mileage or reimburse your mileage. So if you go to 25 miles, they might charge you $7 per mile, or something like that. So these benefits include the employer to pay for your surgery, doctor visit, therapy, prescription, and also include appliances such as your hearing aids, wheelchairs, and things like that. And now I'm going to talk about mandatory benefits, which are programs that all employers are legally required to provide to their employees. The employee also has to meet the requirements in order to get this benefit. These benefits provide employees with some form of compensation or time away from their job. Some examples of mandatory benefits that are given are unemployment insurance, workers' compensation, and disability insurance. Also, they have family and medical leave and civic duty. And now I'm going to talk about optional benefits. So these are some of the programs that are a part of the optional benefits. And these are benefits that are common in the workplace and employees come to expect them as given. So you can go to one job and they give you paid sick leave when another job might not give it to you. So it's not really mandatory like mandatory benefits are. Even though these benefits are given, they're not required by law. Some benefits for these are paid sick time, paid vacation, dental insurance, vision insurance, and life insurance, and disability insurance. And sometimes they give you life insurance, but I guess that goes by, I guess, what type of job you have. Um, how employees receive these benefits. The people that like these benefits value them, and the people who don't say it doesn't really matter. But the people who don't like these benefits, there's always an issue such as cost shifting, and also there's always rapid growth. So the value of workplace benefits among employees are eroding, driven by concerns about rising out-of-pocket health costs. Also, there is a rapid growth in high deductible consumer direct health plans. All right, so now I'm talking about New Jersey paid sick leave, which Stephen already talked about. Employers are not required to permit employees to use more than 40 hours of sick leave in a benefit year. A benefit year is usually about 12 months. And you can use this for diagnosed care, case of victims of domestic violence, and to seek preventative medical care. The largest increment chosen may not be larger than hours worked. So if you work 7 hours, you can't say, can I get 8 hours of paid sick leave, because they're not going to give it to you. And then if they do give it to you, be penalized for it. So this law excludes construction workers, per diem healthcare, public employees who already have it. And so now I'm going to talk about minimum wage laws. The lowest hourly wage rate an employer may pay employees to work. Some provide exemptions and limitations such as age, size of the workplace, industry type, the work performed. And some states pass their own law, and some didn't pass it, or some adopted this law. So now I'm talking about personal experience. I work at a security company called Securitas, and they pay different pay rates at different sites. But the site I work at, there's different stations. There's like an inside for receptionists, and then there's a back one for like work with trucks and stuff. So I work in the back. I didn't take that picture. I work in a shack, and I work with the trucks, like with outside, inside carriers, and I basically check the fills and stuff. But based on my work performance, we get paid more than the people that work inside as a receptionist. So that's what the minimum wage. Last thing, talk about statutory laws, which are written laws enacted by legislative body. It can be turned over if unconstitutional, and usually it's controlled by government, but mostly by the attorneys. So whatever practice they're given, they must find a law that applies to it. And once they find these laws, they're recorded and codified and given to the highest and given to the highest person in the that's higher than the attorney for the government. That's it. Yep.
Oh, careful.
I blinked it. Do you want me to stop it?
Oh, yeah, but just,
Stop it.
perfect.